So it's my pleasure to speak on behalf of our project today. As Sharon said, our industry collaborator on this is the Newfoundland Forest Industry Association. Folks might know, but the Forest Industry Association represents 96% of commercial forestry resource production in the province. That includes about 5,000 workers employed directly or indirectly in the forest industry, and about $383 million annually coming in through the forest industry. So it's a good chunk. Our project is entitled Forest-Based Bioeconomy Development in Newfoundland. And when I say bioeconomy essentially means where the basic building blocks of an economy, whether it's materials or chemicals or energy, are derived from renewable resource products, in our case, the forest industry. So we're interested in diversification in the forest industry towards more of a bioeconomy focus. So as I said, the proponent organization is the NLFIA, Newfoundland and Labrador Forest Industry Association. Our project is ongoing. I want to mention our community collaborators as well before I get into the meat of the project here. Halibut First Nation, Women in Resource Development Corporation, the Newfoundland Labrador Environmental Industries Association, and the Provincial Department of Fisheries, Forestry and Agriculture. Number of other folks on our project team as well. Mr. Bill Dawson from the NLFIA, Wade Bowers, Kelly Hobbold, Ken Carter from here at Grenfell, and Brent Howell from College of North Atlantic. So next slide, please. Just an overview of what our project is designed around, I guess the main topics that we're focused on here. We're interested in diversification in the forest industry. Diversification both in terms of product, but also in terms of workforce. And the two go hand in hand, as a number of other presenters have mentioned today. So I've got a quick overview of our research questions on the left, if you want to call them research questions. What opportunities exist in the area of employment diversification for the forest-based bioeconomy in Newfoundland? What opportunities exist in the area of product development, networking, and procurement processes for forest-based bioeconomy development in Newfoundland? And how can we prepare the forest industry for this change? So when we talk about diversification, often in the forest industry, often what comes to mind is new types of products. So people oftentimes think about value-added products for the forest industry instead of just 2x4 and lumber. What other products can be constructed? So that's part of it in terms of new product diversification. But there's also a whole host of other areas that come to mind as well. And along with those new products and new ideas and new partnerships comes the need for a more diverse workforce, a different skill set that needs to come to the table. Currently, the workforce in the forest industry in this province is not very diverse at all. Very small percentages of women in the workforce, in the forest industry workforce, very small percentages of Indigenous peoples, very small percentages of newly arriving Canadians. So there's not a lot of diversity currently. And what's really interesting is that the diversification that's needed as we move more towards the bioeconomy requires this a more diverse workforce. It requires that new skill set that needs to come in. So how are we conducting this research? We've identified 5 case study sites here on the island of Newfoundland, sawmill-based towns, essentially. And these areas are kind of based on the Newfoundland Forest Industry Association network. So we've got these 5 forestry-dependent communities, and the process is we're engaging with the stakeholders and mill owners in each of these areas, and we're identifying some of the assets that come from the sawmilling industries and connecting those assets with ideas for partnerships to partner with non-governmental organizations or local community enterprises or small entrepreneurs, social enterprises to identify these new partnerships. And then we're kind of working with those groups to be the matchmaker, to bring those organizations together, the sawmilling industry and those local ideas and partnerships to help move those along and help facilitate the realization of these new opportunities and perhaps a more diverse workforce that comes along with it. The picture there at the bottom is from Sexton's Lumber out in Bonavista area in Bloomfield. And we've been having some great success in working with Sexton's as one of our case study regions. Next slide, please. So to date, we've been moving along pretty good. Everyone's talking about the impacts of COVID-19. Of course, we experienced that as well. Our original project plan for stakeholder consultation went out the window pretty quick when COVID hit. So we kind of had to come back to the drawing board and come up with a different process, which has been really interesting, challenging at times, but it turns out we've identified a fairly effective process. So to date, we have completed our consultation with mill owners in 4 of our 5 case study regions. We've completed our stakeholder consultations fully in 1 case study region with Sexton's Lumber. And we're ready to start the stakeholder consultation in our other case study regions as well. We've produced videos for the sawmill areas in 3 of our 4 case study regions, and those videos turned out to be incredibly important. So essentially, we're able to engage the Harris Center, and Boyan First, who some of you may know, is an incredible artist as well, and he's been able to develop these short documentary pieces about the sawmill in each of these towns to highlight the mill, but also talk about opportunities for partnership. And then we use that as a vehicle to engage with stakeholders to identify opportunities for partnership. So those videos have turned out to be incredibly important. And we're working to move towards our final consultation case study area later this month or maybe next month. Some of our early learnings, public engagement processes, of course, had to change a lot due to public health restrictions. We saw some really interesting impacts because of the pandemic on the forest industry. And anyone that had to build a new deck in the last year, you probably have noticed this. The price of lumber has increased considerably. So in some cases, what used to be an industry that was looked at as in decline suddenly began to grow really quickly, which obviously identifies new opportunities. The need for workforce diversity I've already talked about. The role of the documentary film has been really interesting as well. A lot of folks are interested in that tangible projects. So next slide, please. So some of the opportunities we've identified to date, again, we've completed our consultation with Sexton's Lumber. We've identified partnerships and a potential project to come from that. There's interest in a co-located greenhouse facility that can take advantage of the waste heat that comes from the sawmill to actually heat a greenhouse. So there's some organizations interested in that. Some other ideas that are coming to the top, again, using the excess heat from the mill and sawmilling process for a greenhouse, being able to generate electricity or hydrogen, and the opportunity for apprenticeship training. Think about workforce diversification. So that's another opportunity that's been identified as well. Lots of folks are collaborating on this. We've got a PhD student under my supervision that's working on this project as well, and a bit of an offshoot topic, which is really interesting. We've got potential book chapters coming out of this as well, and we've been asked to share our findings thus far with a number of different organizations. The image on the right is the Bang the Table site. So this is a software that's used by the Harris Center, and this is what we're using to help engage with stakeholders. So we provide information here about our sawmill regions, if you want to call them that, with our videos, and then we can invite stakeholder consultation using this as a platform of engagement. So this is something that came from our need to pivot because of COVID-19. And it's been fairly effective. So that's a really quick overview of a big project with still some important pieces to come, but it's been great so far, and we're looking forward to finishing it up in the new year. Thank you.